Okay, so I've known that Steven Universe was coming back in some form or another for about 4 years now, especially with the way the creators were occasionally bleating for it. Frankly, I wasn't all that interested. My feelings on Steven Universe as a series, its protagonist, its creator, its approach to ethics, and its understanding of mental illness and trauma are simultaneously well documented and heavily misrepresented.
First of all, you did not. Second of all, if you follow Rebecca and other people working on the show, you would know that, if anything, they all tried to do other endeavors. But unfortunately for them, Steven Universe has remained the biggest thing that they've done, and in a weird way, they can't escape it. Like, I'm sure Rebecca would wish that she would be a full-time singer or songwriter or whatever, which I know you hate songs in Steven Universe and assumingly Adventure Time, but most other people like them. But if she could, I don't know, become Sabrina Carpenter overnight, I'm sure she would do that over making another Steven Universe show. Most of her involvement on other shows nowadays is literally just music, and most of her career outside of Steven Universe is music. I think music is her passion, and I think she would not do Steven Universe again if her music would be as successful of the show. But that's kind of hard because that was a show that was on TV, on network television, on Cartoon Network, one of the biggest channels, and at the point in time when people still watched TV shows, versus her music career, which kind of has to be reduced to her YouTube channel and maybe her Spotify. It's really hard to break into that industry, especially since she's not like a very social media kind of person, so she's not out there just every day gaining followers and trying to max her viewership or whatever. She just puts out music and her numbers are pretty good, but they're nowhere near the numbers you have for making a show like Steven Universe, which was watched by millions of people on national television. And third of all, you quite literally accuse the creator and the team behind the show of being abusive, fascist, pedophiles, openly in your videos. So I don't know what's the misinterpretation or misrepresentation of your beliefs when you say it yourself.
So revisiting yet another sequel series was never on my to-do list, not when I'm currently 18,000 words deep into a dissertation on enmeshment.
The fun response which you see on the screen when she's talking is about trying to appease and please other people in response to your trauma. Lily, you do neither of those things. I guarantee you, without even knowing your personal life, you do not have that. And I saw one of her more recent videos where she talks about enmeshment. She portrays it in a positive or neutral light, or at least she tries to, when the term literally means having dysfunctional, almost symbiotic, toxic relationships with family members, to the point of lacking any boundaries or self-identity. Lily, why do you keep insisting on broadcasting your weird incest obsession on the internet? Literally, nobody is forcing you to do so.
And rather than just cut his losses so the series could move on to something else, they just kept putting in more episodes about him.
While Lars is annoying up until like season 5, outside of the first season, Lars has like 1 episode per season, maybe 2. He's not really focused on at all until the end of season 4 and the start of season 5.
About the only interesting thing to say about Lars was to make jokes about him not having earlobes because he's designed with the intention that he's wearing ear spreaders, yet before season 5, Crooniverse never actually drew him wearing the spreaders.
We actually do see them before season 5, but also, your ears stay like that after you have them. It's a way of showing that he does have them without even actually showing it.
Steven Universe's biggest problem was it oriented its perspective entirely around Steven. If he wasn't there to see something happen, then the audience didn't get to see it either. This is actually quite unusual, as no other animated series has done this. Now, a single perspective story isn't inherently a bad idea, but the story has to be written with it in mind, while Steven Universe just bolted a shoujo anime onto it and called it a day.
I do understand the criticism of the show only being from Steven's perspective, because I also do like intertwining stories from multiple points of view. But to say the show just happened to be that way, or it was crammed into be that way, is silly. It's basically to ignore how everything in the story is set up specifically so that it makes sense in the framing of Steven's POV. The same way on a rewatch, you can tell what's going on with Mr. Robot, if you ever seen that show. If you watch Steven Universe, you can connect everything together and realize how it only really works because we don't see other POVs. Because we're watching it from Steven's point of view.
But the story has to be written with it in mind, while Steven Universe just bolted a shoujo anime onto it and called it a day.
I don't know if you've watched my last video, and I'm talking to the audience now, not with Lily, but the reason Lily keeps comparing Steven Universe to anime is because she hates anime and thinks the show having similarities to anime or being inspired by anime is a criticism.
This would be like if you watched Utena entirely from the perspective of Utena. The story completely falls apart because it needs to cut away to other characters. Also, in the first arc, you'd miss the student council giving their little Team Rocket motto every episode.
If it cannot break out of its shell, the chick will die without being born.
I mean, at that point, why even bother watching?
Except Utena and Steven Universe are nothing alike. The only similarities you can find is that there's a fight scene that references Utena, and then they both imply gay relationships. But that's about as similar as they get. And I understand that Rebecca Sugar liked the show, but that doesn't mean that the show of Steven Universe is somehow the same or similar. They're completely different.
But with Homeworld having been largely defanged thanks to Steven's signature skill of being the author's favorite,
I don't even know if Steven is her favorite. I think it's more about him being the main character of the show, and also the fact that he's based on her brother. I remember back in the day that she said something along the lines of, Garnet is my favorite gem, and Greg is my favorite character. Obviously that could have changed, because I also heard about her saying that Steven is her favorite gem out of all the gems, but I always hear about her favorite character being Greg. So if that's the case, your argument doesn't really make sense.
Hey, Lars of the Stars certainly has the potential to emulate classic science fiction serials like Flash Gordon or The Star Lost, though knowing Sugar is probably going to look closer to Captain Harlock.
See, she cannot stop talking about anime as an insult. An anime, by the way, she hasn't seen. She literally ranked all the anime she's watched, and I just checked that video. This one is not one of them. She just hates anime. So as long as she can reference one inspiring a show, she can write it off as a criticism of the show.
Hell, given the change of protagonist, I wonder if the series will finally settle its internal contradiction of big fight scenes are cool, but violence bad, me.
I think the funniest part about this is that Lily is the exact opposite. She does like violence, she's very violent as a person, but she does hate fight scenes and action. Which, by the way, isn't a contradiction. You can have cool action in your media and the message also to be anti-violence. Which, by the way, Steven Universe doesn't even have that many fight scenes. I wish it had more, if anything.
CT, I don't get it. You've had so many bad things to say about Steven Universe, but you're optimistic about this? Well, see, Pixie, this is why you need to pay attention to what I'm saying rather than tuning me out and putting words in my mouth.
Lily, the fact that you have a strawman character created specifically so you can argue against is kind of hilarious, but also kind of sad, and just goes to show the level of arguments you are at.
Much of Steven Universe's issues stem from it being the creator's baby, packed to the gills with every single inspiration and indulgence possible. It's one of those instances where a creative gets the chance to make their perfect animated show, and so crams everything they possibly can into it.
Yeah, except this isn't Rebecca's show. Like, it wasn't just her randomly decided to make a show. It was specifically made for Cartoon Network at the request of Cartoon Network, and even heavily changed to fit Cartoon Network from the pilot, which was already made for Cartoon Network. It wasn't her perfect, unchanged vision. It's not the director's cut. In fact, I would go as far as to say that she would have made something entirely different if she was given a creative freedom to make whatever she wanted, and for a channel or network that was more mature, like an Adult Swim. If she was given free reign to do a show on Adult Swim, Steven Universe would have been so different, if not existing at all.
It's worth remembering that unlike Twitter users who have melted their brains with memes, a critic will dislike things for tangible reasons.
Lily, that would disqualify you from being a critic, and I would hardly call you a critic in the first place. You quite literally plagiarized an insane article for your original Steven Universe video, where you called Sagalite and Bismuth gorillas, and also black. Now, I don't think you meant to be racist, I just think you didn't understand that your talking points, you didn't understand that taking your talking points from an article written by a black woman might make it sound crazy when it's said out loud by a white suburbanite like yourself.
There's one thing that gives me pause, and that's the fact that it's a series being made for Prime Video. Streaming services are bad, always have been, and Steven Universe itself was collapsing under the weight of a tight budget, being managed like the economy under a conservative government. Now that budget is about to get even tighter, and this new series is likely going to conform to the new streaming standards of 8 episodes, a third of a season's real length.
Lily hates that seasons of shows aren't 26 episodes or whatever. I'm not even going to go too much into it, but if the episodes are 20 or 40 minutes long, then they will be about as long as a normal season anyway. At least in terms of runtime.
I wish everything on TV was good. No doubt SU stans are inventing new fanfiction about how I'm going to rip it to pieces out of a combination of anti-Zionism and jealousy.
Hello? What are you talking about? What does Zionism have to do with... Oh, is it because Rebecca is Jewish? I mean, what else would it be? What else could she be talking about? Why the fuck are you randomly mentioning and talking about Zionism in a fucking cartoon video, Lily? The virtue signaling won't help you in the eyes of the public at this point, and it's quite strange and weird. I'm not gonna say you're anti-Semitic or racist or whatever. I mean, I wanted to say because I think you're not, but I don't know at this point. But like, this is a weird thing to bring up. Like, if it's literally just because Rebecca is Jewish, that's just weird. That is weird. That is anti-Semitic, and I don't really like to throw accusations like that around because I think they're serious. But like, why else would you mention this in something about Steven Universe? Like, this is something that like Easy Peasy or ER or one of those like Nazi dudes would say. I don't know why Lily's bringing it up. You know, it's very weird.
Suffice to say, if you do see a video from me on the series pop up in your feed, that means it was good. If it's bad, I won't be doing a video on it. Steven Universe's weird sacred cow status, and the fanbase being a gibbering pack of racist, transphobic baboons, means it's not worth it putting up with the inevitable harassment I get for covering it negatively.
Lily, you get no harassment. You don't even allow criticisms on your videos. You don't approve any comments that are critical of you. And you try to copyright or copyright strike anybody that responds to you. Where would you even interact with this harassment when you don't allow it on your channel? The show also is not a secret cow. It doesn't have a secret cow status. It's one of the most hated shows on social media, on the internet, in real life. It's literally so hated by the far right, by the regular right wing, if that exists anymore, by centrists, by the far left, by homophobic people, by racist people, by people who think the show is homophobic or racist for whatever reason. It's literally one of the most hated cartoons of all time. Your video about white supposedly garbage has like 8 to 9 million views. And if you think that Steven Universe fans of all fanbases are racist or transphobic, then I don't know what to tell you. This is one of the most woke, maybe too woke, in my opinion, fanbases of all time. Like, yes, there might be like, I don't know, a few thousand people out of the millions of people who have watched the show that are like homophobic or transphobic or racist, but like this has to be the least amount of like racist people per capita in any fandom. This is the most woke fandom ever. What are you even talking about? If these guys are too homophobic for you, then what fan base is it? Like, there isn't a fan base with less quote-unquote homophobia or transphobia or racism than this one. I'm sorry. And accusing a whole community of hundreds of thousands of even millions of people of being racist because some people were racist on your Tumblr is like not even close to being fair. It's kind of insane, actually. Not to mention that most of the hate you get or questions you get asked are literally by your own community or even by your own suck puppet alt accounts. I don't even believe when you say the Owl House and Steven Universe fans harass you. I genuinely just believe you made those accounts up and then ask yourself questions in order for you to answer them, because who the hell asks you for questions? Like, I mean, I guess there might be people out there, but I don't know. It just feels like a lot of the time people ask you questions that you specifically want to answer. I don't know.
They took me saying I hadn't seen Steven Universe before deciding to make in-a-minute videos on it to mean I made that big critical video without watching the show because they're a combination of angry, delusional, and bafflingly illiterate. The worst thing about Steven Universe is, and has always been, the fan base.
Lily, you get called out because you use criticisms stolen from articles and ask questions about the show that are answered in the show. You get criticized and you got called out and you get quote-unquote hate from people who rightfully point out that you either haven't watched a lot of the shows you're talking about or you just don't understand them at all. Or worse, you just steal ideas and arguments from other people without giving it any thought. Or you just lie about what happens in shows. Now, it's possible that you haven't watched something and you lie about it and you have bad criticisms of it, or that you lie about stuff in order to make your arguments. Whichever is worse, you pick your poison. There's also the argument that you watch stuff, you remember stuff, but you either forget it or you don't understand it at all, which might be the worst one because it just kind of demonstrates that you're not just lying, not just saying you watched something when you didn't, but you're actually kind of stupid.